Madam Chair, Excellencies, the budget before you today and the meaningful reductions in the revised estimate report reaffirm our determination to become ever more efficient and cost-effective. Looking ahead, work streams 2 and 3 of the UN80 initiative are also underway. Any budgetary implications arising from these efforts will be assessed rigorously and reflected in future budget proposals for your consideration. But success also depends on Member States fulfilling their commitments. Ultimately, effective delivery in 2026 will depend on the timely and full payment of assessed contributions. Despite earlier hopes, the downward trend of collections has continued. The last 2 years have unfortunately seen a deterioration in the financial situation. Strict spending restrictions in both 2024 and 2025 were introduced early on and averted payment defaults. But the organization began 2025 with a cash deficit of $135 million. Higher arrears of $760 million as of the end of 2024, the majority of which were not recovered, and a large chunk is very, I would say, unlikely to be recovered, coupled with $89 million of credits to Member States as part of their 2025 assessments, mean that we will collect less than the approved budget for 2025, even if Member States pay their contributions in full this year. In early March, we set a spending reduction target of $600 million for 2025, nearly 17% of the budget. Without these restrictions, we would have run out of cash by August, jeopardizing the high-level week and having dramatic consequences on salaries for our staff. By the end of September, we had collected only 66.2% of the year's assessments, compared to 78.1% of last year at this time. Today, in the last quarter of 2025, we still have significant uncertainty about the collections for the year. And given the present level of uncertainty about income, we could end 2025 with a deficit of more than $450 million, even after reducing the spending by nearly $600 million. This will wipe out nearly all our liquidity reserves and leave us highly vulnerable to any delays in collections next year. We are also required to return $300 million in credits to Member States at the beginning of 2026. That represents nearly 10% of the budget for 2026 that we will not collect, even if our Member States pay their dues in full. But uncertainty about collections and any delay in collections early in this year will force us to reduce spending even more. We will again spend less than the budget in 2026 because we did not collect enough. And that will probably lead to a collapse of the regular functioning of our organization. And then potentially face the prospect of returning up to $600 million in 2027, or about 20% of the budget. That means a race to bankruptcy. Unless arrears are substantially reduced or the return of credits is suspended, this will constrain the implementation of the program budget before you. Drastic cash conservation measures will again be inevitable next year to avert a payment default and strengthen the core of our activities, unless collections this year are sufficient to replenish the liquidity reserves. And that is why I have once again proposed that the General Assembly temporarily suspend the return of credits against the 2026 assessment, creating naturally an account in which the rights of countries to receive back that money as soon as it is available will take place.
And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter, because the teleprompter is not working. I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble. Likewise, in a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years, 2 of them, 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years. One was 28 years. I ended 7 wars. And in all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed. This includes Cambodia and Thailand, Kosovo and Serbia, the Congo and Rwanda, a vicious, violent war that was, Pakistan and India, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Armenia and Azerbaijan. It included all of them. No president or prime minister, and for that matter, no other country has ever done anything close to that. And I did it in just 7 months. It's never happened before. There's never been anything like that. I'm very honored to have done it. It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen, but she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. And by the way, it's working now. It just went on. Thank you. I think I should just do it the other way. It's easier. Thank you very much. I didn't think of it at the time because I was too busy working to save millions of lives. That is the saving and stopping of these wars. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. I thought of it really after the fact, not during these negotiations, which were not easy. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action. Now, after ending all of these wars and also earlier negotiating the Abraham Accords, which is a very big thing for which our country received no credit, never receives credit. Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements. But for me, the real prize will be the sons and daughters who live to grow up with their mothers and fathers, because millions of people are no longer being killed in endless and unglorious wars. What I care about is not winning prizes, it's saving lives. We saved millions and millions of lives with the 7 wars. And we have others that we're working on, and you know that. Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex. I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. It would be beautiful. I used to talk about, I'm going to give you marble floors. They're going to give you terrazzo. I'm going to give you the best of everything. You're going to have mahogany walls. They're going to give you plastic. But they decided to go in another direction, which was much more expensive at the time, and which actually produced a far inferior product. And I realized that they did not know what they were doing when it came to construction, and that their building concepts were so wrong, and the product that they were proposing to build was so bad and so costly. It was going to cost them a fortune. And I said, and wait till you see the overruns. Well, I turned out to be right. They had massive cost overruns and spent between $2 and $4 billion on the building and did not even get the marble floors that I promised them. You walk on terrazzo. Do you notice that? As far as I'm concerned, frankly, looking at the building and getting stuck on the escalator, they still haven't finished the job. They still haven't finished. That was years ago. The project was so corrupt that Congress actually asked me to testify before them on the tremendous waste of money, because it turned out that they had no idea what it was, but they knew it was anywhere between $2 and $4 billion as opposed to $500 million with a guarantee. But they had no idea, and I said it cost much more than $5 billion. Unfortunately, many things in the United Nations are happening just like that, but on an even much bigger scale, much, much bigger. Very sad to see.